My sister laughed, and said, "You're just jealous I got the house." I smiled and calmly said, "You might want to check the deed again." And then she started screaming. She could barely speak at that point, frail, barely a whisper, but I remember it so clearly. I was adjusting the blanket on her legs, making sure the oxygen tube wasn't tugging too hard on her ear. She looked up at me, eyes glassy but still alert, and mouthed, "Thank you?" That was it. That was the last word my mother ever said to me. She passed away the next morning. Quietly, in her sleep, just like she always said she wanted. And even though I'd known it was coming for months, the stillness that followed felt like a freight train of silence had plowed through my chest. I was 36. An only son, at least by name. But anyone who knew our family would tell you, it was my sister, Valerie, who wore the crown. Growing up, Valerie was the golden child, the type who could lie, manipulate, even outright steal, and somehow still be praised for her ambition. She had this way of charming people, especially our mother. It was like she was coated in Teflon. Nothing ever stuck to her. And when Mom got sick, when her body started losing the fight, I was the one who stepped in. Not because anyone asked me to, but because it was the right thing to do. I quit my job to go remote. Moved back into the house I grew up in. Took over the bills. Cooked, cleaned, changed bedding, sat beside her through treatments, through fevers, through late-night panic attacks where she forgot what year it was or thought I was her late husband. It was brutal. Beautiful, in moments. But brutal. Valerie? She visited twice. Once, to bring flowers she probably didn't pay for, and once, to argue about how much Mom's engagement ring would be worth if it were resized. So, you can imagine the slow-burning rage I felt when she showed up at the funeral wearing a pearl-white dress, not even kidding, and acted like she just lost her best friend in the whole world. She sobbed. Loudly. Hugged people she hadn't seen in 10 years. Told story after story about how close she and Mom had been. She even pulled our aunt aside to whisper something about Mom's final wishes, which, of course, included her getting the house. The same house she hadn't lived in since college. The same house I had practically rebuilt during Mom's final years. That was the first red flag. But it wasn't the worst. The worst part came a few days later. When I drove by the house to pick up a few things I'd left behind and saw a dumpster in the driveway. I parked across the street stunned. And there she was. Valerie. In yoga pants and designer sunglasses, waving in furniture movers like she was directing a movie. And that's when I knew she thought the house was hers. I didn't get out of the car at first. I just sat there, gripping the steering wheel and staring at my childhood home, now occupied by someone who hadn't even been there to say goodbye to the woman who raised us. A guy with a clipboard walked out the front door. "This is going to be a total transformation," I heard him say. Valerie smiled like she was on HGTV. "Yeah, we're knocking out that whole wall. It's got to go. The kitchen is so outdated." Outdated? Mom picked out that backsplash. Mom cooked every holiday meal on that stovetop. And now she was tearing it all out like it was junk from a thrift store. A lamp I recognized, one Mom used to keep by her reading chair, was sticking out of the dumpster, its shade crumpled and bent. I finally got out of the car. Valerie spotted me immediately, her face lighting up with this full pleasant expression she used to wear whenever she wanted something. "Oh, hey, big brother! You're just in time. What do you think?" "I'm thinking open concept." I didn't answer. I walked past her, into the house. It didn't feel like home anymore. It felt like a showroom. She followed behind me, gesturing like a tour guide. "I've already got painters coming Tuesday, and we're getting that weird old carpet ripped up. I mean, Mom had her quirks, but come on. This place needs a serious facelift." I turned around slowly. "You moved in?" "Of course," she said like it was the most obvious thing in the world. "Mom wanted me to have the house." "No, she didn't." Valerie tilted her head and gave a practiced, wounded look. "She told me she wanted me to be taken care of. You're fine, you've got your job, your apartment, your freedom. I'm starting over. I need this." "You weren't even here," I said. You didn't lift a finger. She laughed, actually laughed. Oh my God, are you seriously jealous right now? That's when she said it. The line that would echo in my head for days. You're just jealous I got the house. I could feel the heat rise in my chest. But I didn't show it. I didn't yell. I didn't storm out. I just looked at her for a long, quiet second. And I smiled. That smile must have confused her, because she gave me a side eye and stepped back a little, suddenly unsure. But I didn't say what I was really thinking, not yet. You see, 6 months before Mom passed, when things were getting bad and she couldn't pretend anymore, we had a conversation in the quiet of her room. No lawyers. No notaries. Just her hand in mine. I changed the deed, she had whispered. You're the one who's been here. You're the one who stayed. I nodded. I know. I just want you to be okay. So when Valerie started making Instagram posts with captions like, manifesting new beginnings dizzy #blessed #myhome, I didn't say a word. I didn't call her out when she told our extended family the house was gifted to her. I let her talk. I let her brag. Because I had something she didn't. The actual deed. After that moment, after she mocked me with, "You're just jealous I got the house," I didn't go back for a while. Let her paint the walls. Let her rip up the carpets. Let her play queen of a castle she didn't own. I figured if she wanted to build herself a fantasy, the least I could do was let her finish the set. Meanwhile, I met with our family's lawyer. Mr. Hanley? He'd known my mom for years. The kind of guy who still wore pocket squares and had actual leather-bound books on his office shelves. He gave me a firm handshake and slid a folder across the desk. She was clear, he said. Updated the deed 6 months ago. Transferred full ownership to you. I've got the documents notarized, stamped, witnessed. It's airtight. And then he leaned back and added, "You want to go after her now?" I thought about it. Valerie was reckless, sure. Entitled, definitely. But this? This wasn't just about furniture and paint. This was about pride. Mine, hers, and our mother's. "No," I said. "Not yet." So I waited. And as I waited, Valerie made herself more and more comfortable. She posted photos of the before and after, like she was the new Joanna Gaines. She hosted little dinner parties with her friends, people who didn't know the first thing about our family but nodded along when she said, "Yeah, it's mine now. My mom left it to me." And then, she crossed the line. I got a message one morning from my cousin Melissa. Just a quick text. "Hey, random question. You okay with Valerie throwing a barbecue at the house this Saturday?" I blinked at my screen. Barbecue? I hadn't heard anything about it. But sure enough, when I checked Facebook, there it was. An event titled, "Backyard Bash at My Place. Come see the remodel," with a dozen mutual relatives marked as going. She was throwing a party in my backyard. The same backyard where I used to mow the lawn every Sunday. The same backyard where I sat with my mother that last spring and watched the birds, her favorite blanket across her lap. That's when I decided the show was over. I didn't RSVP. I didn't warn her. I didn't say a word. I just waited. That Saturday, I pulled up 2 blocks away, parked, and walked the rest of the distance. The closer I got, the louder it was, music, laughter, that high-pitched screech my sister does when she's pretending to have a great time. I stepped into the backyard like a ghost. No announcement. No fanfare. The house looked different. New patio furniture, some string lights hanging between the trees. She had installed a bar cart by the fence, and someone was manning a grill like they were filming a lifestyle commercial. And then I spotted her. Valerie. Standing near the fire pit, plastic wine glass in hand, animated and loud as always. Surrounded by cousins, laughing way too hard at her own joke. I didn't make a scene. I didn't have to. I just waited until I caught her eye. She froze mid-sentence. Her smile twitched, then fell. "What are you doing here?" she asked, voice a little too loud. Everyone around her turned to look. "I was invited," I said calmly, gesturing toward the crowd. This is my backyard, after all. She laughed, one of those scoffing, performative laughs she used when she was cornered. You mean was your backyard? That's when she said it again, full of smugness and sparkle. You're just jealous I got the house. I reached into my coat pocket and slowly pulled out a folder. Thick, crisp manila. I held it up with 2 fingers and walked it over to her, not saying a word. Just handed it to her, right there in front of everyone. What is this? She said, eyes narrowing. Read it, I said. You might want to check the deed again. The color drained from her face. I watched her hands tremble slightly as she flipped the folder open. Pages. Stamps. Signatures. Dates. Her mouth opened. Then closed. Then opened again. And then, she screamed. Right there, in the middle of the barbecue. Loud, raw, guttural. A mix of shock and denial, like someone just flipped her world upside down. Cousins and neighbors backed away slowly, unsure what they were witnessing. She shoved the folder back into my chest. No. This is fake. You forged this. Mom said. She changed it. I said, my voice steady. 6 months before she passed. I was with her. I took care of her. You weren't. But this house is mine. Everyone knows it. I've been living here. I nodded. And now you've got 30 days to pack. She stood there shaking, papers in hand, her perfect little wine-glass dream shattering in real time. Her voice cracked as she looked around at the guests, desperate for someone, anyone, to back her up. Tell him he can't do this. This is my house, she shrieked. Melissa, our cousin, raised an eyebrow. Valerie, if that deed is legit. It's not. Valerie barked, voice shrill. It's fake. This is just another one of his passive-aggressive guilt trips. He's trying to steal what Mom wanted from me. But no one was buying it anymore. You could feel it in the air, the slow shift in sympathy. Her friends didn't know what to do, looking awkwardly at each other like they just realized they were extras in someone else's drama. And the family? They had seen her parade around like she owned the place for weeks. Seen the Instagram posts. The smug brunch selfies. The captions about, finally getting what I deserve. I didn't say anything else. I didn't need to. The paperwork was real. The silence around her was louder than any argument. And then, like clockwork, she pivoted. From fury, to tears. I can't believe you would do this to me. She sobbed, mascara starting to smear. After everything I've been through. After everything I sacrificed. I'm your sister. I tilted my head. What exactly did you sacrifice, Valerie? Her lip quivered. You always wanted everything. You were always the favorite. That part made me laugh. Really laugh. And not because it was funny, because it was so delusional it actually caught me off guard. I was the one who slept in a chair next to Mom's bed. I said. You were tagging spa locations and pretending your phone was dead. You don't understand. She hissed, dropping the act now that no one was playing along. I need this house. I've already started renovations. I've spent money. Not my problem. Her face twisted. I'll fight this. I shrugged. You can try. She stormed inside, slamming the door behind her like a teenager who just got grounded. Through the window, I watched her fumble with her phone, no doubt calling a lawyer, or someone she thought could magically fix it. But the truth? She was out of time. Out of leverage. And now the clock was ticking. She didn't come back outside. Guests started quietly leaving, one by one. Some mumbled awkward goodbyes, others didn't even bother. Just a slow, embarrassed exodus from Valerie's fantasy backyard party, now reduced to paper plates and silence. I stayed. I stood in the yard for a few more minutes, soaking it in, the trimmed hedges, the chairs she probably bought thinking they'd stay there forever, the faint smell of burgers on the grill. And then I walked to the side gate, unlatched it, and left. No yelling. No gloating. Just a slow walk back to the car, the weight of the moment finally lifting off my chest. The next morning, she started texting. First it was the classic spin. I think we got off on the wrong foot yesterday. Can we talk this through like adults? Mom wouldn't want us fighting. Then came the emotional detour. I don't have anywhere else to go. Do you want me to be homeless? Please, can we work something out? And finally, the threats. If you do this to me, I'll make sure the entire family knows what kind of person you really are. You'll regret this. I didn't respond. Instead, I sent a formal 30-day notice to vacate through my lawyer. Certified mail, email, and a physical copy hand-delivered to the door. No games. No wiggle room. Just business. 3 days later she tried again. This time, with backup. Our Aunt Sharon called me out of the blue, her voice already tight with tension. I heard you're trying to throw Valerie out of the house? I'm not trying to, I said. I'm legally entitled to. She says you blindsided her? That she was promised. Sharon, did you ever see her here when Mom was sick? Once? There was a pause. A heavy, guilty pause. No, she admitted softly. Then don't tell me who deserves what. She didn't call again. I guess even Sharon couldn't argue with that. And Valerie? She started packing, but slowly. Passive-aggressively. I'd stop by once or twice a week, and boxes would appear and disappear. One day she had movers, the next she didn't. It was like she thought if she dragged her heels long enough, I'd give up. But I didn't. Because this wasn't just about walls and windows. This was about finally being seen. I got the call the week before the deadline. Blocked number. I usually ignore those, but something told me to answer. Hello? There was silence at first. Then a voice, shaky, small, like she was trying to sound composed and failing. It's me. I didn't say anything. I'm willing to talk. About terms. Terms? I said, leaning back in my chair. This isn't a negotiation. But I put everything into this house. She snapped, and there it was, that familiar tone, the cracked glass desperation under the lipstick and crocodile tears. You put everything into someone else's house. I said. Let's not pretend you didn't know. Her voice hardened. I made it better. You made it yours, I replied. And it never was. There was a beat of silence. I could hear the hum of her anger vibrating through the phone. Then she said it. If you don't let me stay, I'm going to contest the deed. Publicly. I'll tell everyone you forged it, that you manipulated Mom when she was sick. You think they'll believe you over me? I actually smiled. Let's find out. She hung up. That was her last play. A bluff, as thin and see-through as her excuses had always been. I knew she didn't have a case. The paperwork was airtight. Witnessed, notarized, and updated when Mom was still lucid, still clear, still watching Valerie from a distance as she flaked, disappeared, and only came back to circle like a vulture. And the best part? I'd saved the voicemail Mom left me. It was dated 2 weeks after she signed the deed over. Her voice was frail, but warm. Hey sweetheart, just wanted you to know I'm so glad we did what we did. It gives me peace. You've always been here. And I know the house will be safe with you. That voicemail? I sent it to Valerie. No words. No explanation. Just the audio. She didn't reply. Not that night. Not the next day. But when I drove by the house 3 days before her eviction deadline, the driveway was empty. Curtains drawn. No car. No music. No Valerie. She was gone. I waited until the day after her move-out deadline before stepping foot inside the house again. It was early. Just after sunrise. The kind of cool, quiet morning my mom used to love. She'd sit by the kitchen window with a cup of tea, the same chipped mug she always used, humming old songs under her breath. I half expected to hear that hum when I pushed open the front door. But all I heard was the creak of worn wood and the echo of my own footsteps. The place was empty, mostly. The furniture was gone. The walls had been stripped bare, except for a few spots where the paint job had been left unfinished, like she ran out of time, or motivation. In the hallway, a drawer had been pulled out and left on the floor, its contents scattered. An old envelope marked Mom Medical. Torn open, discarded. The living room smelled faintly of lavender and paint thinner. Not exactly the homey scent I remembered. And then I found the note. It was taped to the fridge, written in Valerie's signature loopy cursive, like she was still in high school. Hope you're happy. You got what you wanted. Enjoy the house. Alone. No apology. No reflection. Just venom dressed up as a farewell. But the thing that really caught me wasn't the note. It was what I found in the guest room. Tucked in the closet, on the top shelf, was a single box she forgot. Or maybe left on purpose, I'll never know. Inside were photo albums. Our childhood. Pictures of birthdays, holidays, lazy weekends. There we were, side by side on Christmas morning, smiling in matching pajamas. Mom in the background caught mid-laugh. And taped to the inside lid of the box was a Polaroid. It was the three of us. Me, Mom, and Valerie. We were sitting on the front porch, barefoot, eating popsicles. I had to be 12. Valerie was 13. And Mom, she looked younger than I'd ever seen her. Happy. Whole. I sat down on the bare floor and stared at it for a long time. That's when the silence finally hit me, not as relief, but as grief. Grief for the mom I missed. For the years I spent being the one in the background. For the sister I used to wish I could protect, before I realized she'd always only protect herself. But most of all, grief for the peace I'd finally earned, and how heavy it still felt. I didn't move in right away. For the first time in months, maybe years, I had the space to breathe, but I wasn't sure I wanted to breathe there. I stayed in my apartment while I let the dust, literal and emotional, settle. On weekends I came by with a toolbox and a trash bag. One room at a time, I started undoing Valerie's vision. I repainted the kitchen. Rehung the wind chimes Mom used to love, even though Valerie had tossed them in a box marked garage sale. The place slowly started to feel like a home again. Not hers. Not even mine. Ours. Me and Mom. There was something powerful about reclaiming it on my own terms. No drama. No headlines. No fireworks. Just quiet, steady restoration. One afternoon, while cleaning out a drawer in the hallway hutch, I found Mom's journal. It wasn't a diary, not really, just little notes she'd written to herself. Grocery lists. Poems she liked. One entry stood out, scribbled in fading pen. I know they'll fight when I'm gone. I wish they wouldn't. But I also know which one will do the right thing. She never named names. But I didn't need her to. That night, I sat on the porch with a beer and watched the sun go down behind the same row of trees it always had. A couple of neighborhood kids biked by. A dog barked 2 houses down. Somewhere, a wind chime rang. And for the first time since the funeral, I felt still. Not triumphant. Not angry. Just still.